It looks like Obamacare is already descending into chaos. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Devastating new jobs report out today says that if the same number of Americans were looking for work right now as were looking for jobs in 2009, the unemployment rate would be about 11%. There's no question that after trillions of taxpayer dollars have been poured into the private marketplace by the Obama administration, job growth remains awful. So why is that? The main culprit could be Obamacare, which became law in 2010 with the goal of providing health insurance to every American. Problem is that somebody has to pay for that, and business is the primary target. In my case, for example, my corporate health insurance premiums for the corporations that I run have tripled since Obamacare was passed. So millions of small business owners like me, and large corporations as well, are not hiring as many people because health care expenses are rising so quickly. It's that simple. Hiring is stunted because of federal health care mandates. Are we all getting this? Now some specifics. Writing in Time magazine, liberal guy Joe Klein scolding the Obama administration for not setting up promised health insurance exchanges for small businesses. In fact, 33 states can't meet Obamacare requirements in that area. The result? Chaos. But here's something even worse. The factor has learned that the Health and Human Services Agency may order the states to hire hundreds of thousands of so-called Obamacare navigators at salaries that could average more than $60,000 a year. In California alone, 21,000 navigators are estimated to be needed. And what do these people do? Well, they simply advise other Americans about how to deal with the outrageously complicated Obamacare law. According to the Washington Post, some of these navigators are likely to come from unions as well as immigrant service and community service organizations. But here's the reality. Nobody will actually know what the navigators do because there's no objective way to measure advice. The navigators may be paid hourly, with senior executives making up to $48 an hour. At least that's the federal estimate. But again, what do these people actually do? This has the potential to be an enormous ruse, another colossal waste of taxpayer money. Nancy Pelosi can't explain Obamacare, and some navigator in San Diego is going to figure it out? To say that Obamacare is off to a bad start is the understatement of the century. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. With us, David Callahan, co-founder of Demos, let me get that out here, David, progressive organization. That might be a Freudian slip here. All right. I don't know whether you know this or not, but I have not been an Obamacare hater. All right? I'd like every American to have health insurance. I think that would be good for the country. But I don't want to wreck the country in the process. And this now is dim. Is it not?
Well, let's just start with the question of whether this is holding back job growth.
Okay.
There's no evidence of that at all.
I have evidence.
Gallup does a regular poll of business owners and asks them, why aren't you hiring?
Yes.
The overwhelming reason that business owners gave in the most recent poll is that there's not enough customers. There's not demand. It's not Obamacare. It's not regulation. It's not taxes. It's that consumers are tapped out. Why are consumers tapped out? Well, one reason is that the majority of income gains during the recovery have gone to that top 1%. The middle class doesn't have any money, Bill.
I don't know if that's the fault of the top 1% because the president's in charge of the economy. Now, are you ready to hear my evidence? Are you ready to hear it?
Go ahead.
Do you have an open mind on this? Yes, no, maybe, could?
Let me hear what you got.
All right. Now, I want you to have an open mind. This is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. 2013, this year, small business survey. Ready? 77% of small business owners in America say healthcare law will make coverage for their employees more expensive. 77%. 71% say the Obamacare law makes it harder for them to hire more employees. So this is overwhelming by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And you say?
Well, the law is not taking effect, and what Gallup says is that employers...
All right, so you don't believe this?
U.S. Chamber of Commerce has an agenda. They've been the #1 opponent of this healthcare
It's a conservative group.
Exactly.
But I run a corporation. I just told you what my experience was. Yeah. Triple. So, all right. But, be that as it may. Navigators.
Yes.
You like these navigator guys?
Look, this is a new complex system.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to help people figure it out. Yes. And you know what these navigators are?
Yeah.
They're very similar to the people who've been helping seniors figure out Medicare. In fact, this navigator program builds on the existing program that's already in place that helps seniors figure out the Medicare Advantage, the prescription drug. Bill, that program was put in place by George Bush Sr.
This worries
This is building this is taking a program that works, building on it. People trust it. It works. It helps people.
So you have no problem with hundreds of thousands of navigators. It's not going to be
hundreds of thousands.
No, it will be, because each state is going to be compelled to hire the navigators. And in California, we're already looking at this astronomical number. But here's the deal. When you give somebody advice, all right, you can't measure that. You know, like I come in every day and I do a program. And then the next day I get a rating on the program. And that tells my bosses whether I'm doing a good job or not. All right? So it's not subjective whether O'Reilly's doing a good job. Here's the number on a paper.
Yeah.
Tell me how a navigator can be evaluated. How?
Well, they've been doing it for 23 years.
I don't care what they've been doing.
Well, I'm just saying.
This is a gigantic new program. Yeah, gigantic.
Well, there's various guidelines. The states have a lot of leeway to make sure the navigators are doing a good job.
I'm putting you in charge of the navigator program,
Bill, let me
David.
just say, this is going to be great for small businesses.
It's going to be great.
For small businesses. You know why?
Yeah.
Because small businesses have a hard time figuring out all these complex health insurance
That's true.
plans. Right now already. You and I...
Look, if I had a navigator, I would hire the navigator and pay them out of my own pocket. I don't want to pay them out of the taxpayer dollar. But I'm putting you in charge. You're the navigator czar. Okay? How on earth can you be sure that these people, #1, are giving advice, and #2, know what the hell they're talking about?
Because
you giving them a test?
There are requirements.
Would you give them a test?
Look, I read the regulation today.
Yeah.
There's a detailed requirement. States going to have a lot of oversight.
But there's no test.
These people are going to be evaluated. Look.
By whom?
Look. By state oversight.
What state?
Agency. The state.
Who are they going to send out? Firemen? To do it? Who's going to evaluate them? The navigator evaluators?
It's been working for 23 years. This is just more of the same.
This is insane, and it's chaotic, and you know it. I'll give you the last word.
Look, we have a healthcare system right now where people are dying because they don't have insurance. ObamaCare is going to fix that. Yes, it has some problems. A $2 million system doesn't change on a dime.
I don't want anybody dying, but I think that this is just heading for disaster. David, it was always a pleasure to see you.